Good morning from sunny Cambodia. Just a few things that are going on for me at the moment. I think uh, I think I should change my YouTube ID. Currently it's Dave Schizoaffective, but I think I should change it to Dave Paranoid Schizophrenic. Um, because those highs, I seem to have some more insight into them. You know, um, and what triggered me to um, change my nick to Dave Schizoaffective was the fact that I read somewhere um, on a mental health channel. I watched on a mental health channel, a lady describe expansive mood, and whilst my mood isn't overt, it's more internalized. Um, I do experience that to some degree. Um, and without going into a great deal of content, it was what was mirrored back to me as a child from my mother, and I interjected that. So now that I've got some awareness around that, and I've opened up about my ideal self, the intensity as to which I experience those moods has diminished somewhat now that I can acknowledge that what I was seeking was fulfillment through glory, um, which is not uncommon um, for a small child. It's generally their sole motivation being egocentric and things along those lines. So now that I can process that, you know, um, I don't engage in that sort of activity readily as what I once did. I used to build myself up into, uh, you know, to the point of rapture, so to speak. And I think it's due to the early childhood trauma that I experienced that prior to one particular trauma, that's the process that I went through where I felt like I'd given 110% of myself. I experienced this sense of triumphalism that was just glorious in nature, and I thought I was going to be ushered into the world of gods, whom I perceived adults were at that time. Like I was only 4.5 years old, and it was met with, oh well, it triggered someone else to depersonalize, and they attacked me. So now that I have this awareness, I don't indulge to the same degree, or if I do, I'm aware, of what the end result is. So I don't think it's mania. It's just delusional in nature, delusions of grandeur, and when I'm angry and resentful, delusions of persecution, and where I become vindictive and things along those lines. It's all, um, you know, I guess I've still got, I don't guess I know, I've still got a lot to learn about it, but, um, I'm an able and willing student. I'm just waiting for the right teacher to come along, I suppose. So I guess that's another motive for starting this channel. Hopefully to get feedback, from other people's experience. I think I should post and speak more openly about my trauma, and then post it in the Reddit complex PTSD and see what feedback I get there. I guess I'm looking for fellow survivors, and the thing I find most frustrating about it is that even with post-traumatic stress disorder or complex post-traumatic stress disorder, I don't like the institutionalized recovery programs, where you have to, yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am, you have to be socially acceptable, in order to feel as though you have recovered, when basically it's about people pleasing, empaths, that you have transformed yourself, into this respectable, outstanding citizen. Whereas I feel as though, the symptoms of my mental illness will always be present. And, I'll never be this sound, articulate professional, which I strive to be for a long time in regards to these complex issues. I'm starting to find a little peace and serenity and contentment with where I'm at in life. And I feel grateful for that. But, recovery is ongoing. And, I'm not offended to any great degree when people use words like fuck and cunt. I'd like to be able to express myself in that particular manner, and I have used those terms in my relationship with God. God and cunt in the same sentence. I think God is a cunt, especially for the shit that he doled out. But that's thinking of God as corporal, which is that he has a body, when in a sense I believe that it's just a spirit or an essence, that's available to all human beings in a universal sense. It's not an arbiter. It's not a yeah. So yeah. And that brings me back to what I originally. There's no logical route back. I just felt it was time I got back to my point, which was to say that I'm thinking of changing my name. It's I'll go back to Australia at the end of November, and I'll get reassessed while I'm over there. Because I want to speak to someone about this, derealization, depersonalization thing. Because I believe that that's part of my process as well. And who knows? Yesterday, I firmly came to accept the fact that, you know, my delusions are either of persecution or grandiose. And, you know, I'd say that a major portion of my everyday mental activity usually pertains to one or the other. Usually it's the grandiose. I love the caffeine and sugar and nicotine, which stimulates that. And like a little kid in a playground for the first time, or on Christmas morning, I'm starting to connect with that feeling, and it's okay, to experience uh, novelty and excitement about the prospect of, connecting with feelings that are subtle in nature without wanting to over amplify them, because, um, unless it was glorious in nature, then I'd never find fulfillment or the capacity to please other individuals. That early childhood trauma again, where I had my best efforts rejected and condemned, and no one ever explained to me that, what I was experiencing was delusional in nature and quite extreme. So I've spent the majority of my life trying to seek something better than excellence, and it's insanity. Cheerio, please subscribe. Hello all to my subscribers. James, welcome to the channel. I hope things are well for everyone. Yeah, leave a comment, I'll get back to you for sure. But life is pretty good at the moment here in Cambodia. I'm pleased to be back into a regular sleep pattern. So over and out for the time being. Ciao.